Hey guys, welcome to Bufori, Malaysia. So today I'm not here to buy a Bufori. Well, one day I would, maybe. But I'm here today to check out my Mini Classic, which is going through a body work restoration. Now, why is it here in Bufori? Bufori are known to make amazingly beautiful cars. Their paintwork is something that I've always been amazed with. And I got the privilege to have them to work on my body. And with that, I also want to share with you some of the biggest lessons and mistakes I've made with bare metal restoration so that you won't make the same thing. Alright, so come on, let's take a look at the Mini and also talk a little bit about bare metal restoration.
Before the video starts, I want to give a big shout out to our sponsors, Expel Malaysia. Now, many may know them for some of the best paint protection films out in the market, but they also produce excellent window tints. It not only has superior heat rejection, but it has amazing clarity. I've used both Prime XR Plus and Prime XP, and I have never been more satisfied. Do check out the website for more information on the products and network of distributors throughout Malaysia. With that, please enjoy the rest of the video.
This is my Mini Classic. Absolutely fallen in love with it. I know I'm spending a lot of money in this car, but I thought, well, I'm going to keep this car for life. Let me just make it as beautiful as possible, right? And I can't wait to get my hands on this car again. It's been almost 6 months since I last drive it. Okay, whoa, 8 months. Wow, quite a journey, isn't it? Now, when I started on restoration, I engaged Kevin, who is the person who is a passionate restorer himself. Now, there is a discussion about whether I'm going full board bare metal or not going bare metal, but I've decided to go bare metal because I got some rust spots here and there. Okay, and as I started to have a bare metal restoration, I realized that it's not as simple as it is, but rather it's actually quite simple if you know what to do, right? So as you can see right now, the car is actually all primered up, but the mistakes I did was when the place I sent to do the body work, they did a fantastic work with doing the welding and making sure the parts are all ready for the engine bay and stuff. Some of the metal work didn't do so well. So I noticed that, or rather Jerry from Bufori noticed that there was a lot of leftover paint on the certain edges. Now, in the initial part, you think that it's not so important, but if you have paint left over after you get rid of the paint, your primer would be sprayed on top of the paint. Now, the problem about etching primer is that it's supposed to go onto the metal. So what's going to happen is that eventually over time it might peel off, or it might be, it will have a surface that's rough around these little edges. So it's just little things that you need to know around when you want to strip everything down. Make sure all the paint must be off. If you're going to take it off, take all the way off. If you can't, at least just sand it down to the paint and then spray primer on top of it. Now, the other thing that happened was that my body was actually sanded down using a machine. It sounds like a logical thing to do because, you want to get rid of the paint. But the problem about sanding, if it's not done properly, what I've learned from the last encounter, and Jerry showed me, is that when you sand everything down the machine doesn't really sit flat all the time. Okay, it's like polishing, right? And sometimes you may cut more than the other. Those flat spots and the deep spots will result in an unsmooth surface. And then when you spray on top of it, it just won't look nice, right? And how most people deal with it is they use a lot of body fillers to fill up the holes. Now, the problem with that is that when you have a lot of body filler, metal, body filler, paint all have different expansion point. So they'll expand, shrink, then it will crack. And then that's what detailers will start to see, like those little cracks underneath the paint, and it will look really, really horrible. So the other thing that when you use a machine to grind it down, and especially when not careful, you start grinding into the metal, and then you start leaving all those little swirls around it. So when you spray etching primer on top of it, as the primer sinks in, it will start doing these little waves, right? So when you spray on top of it, eventually, when you look into the paint, you'll find that those little stripes. I used to be always perplexed when I was polishing cars. I always noticed there are those things, and you can't get it. It's like inside there. It's like very perplexing. And I thought it was just the etching primer that was applied like badly, but now I realize it's not the etching primer. It's actually because of the grinding of the paint. Here's what I learned from Bufori, which, as you can see, they are masters in paintwork. What I learned is that rather than grinding it down, you should use paint remover to remove all the paint off the body if you're going to do bare metal restoration. That's number one. Sometimes some bodywork restorers insist not to use it because it's very harmful on the material, but I get why. Like there is a little bit, I'm sure that there is some harm of it, but what you're doing is that you're actually removing all the paint without hurting the metal, because the body and the metal is precious. You need to take care of it, right? So then when you do that, you preserve the smoothness of the metal and you preserve the shape of the metal. That's so important. So you don't have to use a lot of body fillers and even risk having those little stripes underneath the paint. Okay, so now that's done, let me walk you through what you need to have if you're doing a bare metal restoration. So these are the 3 steps of bare metal restoration. The first thing, of course, you need to get everything down to the metal itself. So this is steel, right, all the way down here. Now, after you put it all the way down to steel, you can see that sometimes it rusts because you expose it to air and stuff, you got rust. And what a lot of people do is that they try to put etching primer or epoxy primer immediately onto steel. Now, what I've learned is that especially a car like this, it's older metal, you want to have a layer of rust converter, so it's black color. Now the trick is, again, this is what and it makes so much sense. When you sand on the bare metal, you can't touch the metal because your hands have oils, it's acidic, and your hands may have moisture, it's acidic. So you have to do it in an environment and you have to do it very carefully, very meticulously. And then you have to spray on or apply your rust converter. It looks black color. So it's not black color over here because it's really underneath. That's going to protect the metal. Then only you put the epoxy primer on top of the rust converter. Now, what I thought I was doing the right step is to go from here to here, and the epoxy primer should take care of the steel. And that's the mistake. There's no rust converter, right? So this is an important step that I missed, right? And then epoxy primer. And I'm sharing this with you not because that you're going to do the painting yourself, is that when you're going to look for somebody to restore your car and do the bodywork, make sure they get these steps right, okay? Because it can harm. I mean, you don't want to spray your car and then many years down the road, like, oh my gosh, it's crack here, and then rust popping up again, right? So this is something very, very important. So now I know there's a lot of caveat to this. It's like, oh, so many steps. It's it sounds expensive. Well, here's what I learned. You don't have to always do bare metal restoration for your car. It's sometimes it's actually safer to just sand it all the way down to the paint, and then you start painting on top of it. Because like you saw, it's really tricky, right? And I'm not saying that some other places who do the bare metal restoration is good or bad. I guess it's what you really want. See, for me, I want this car for life, so it has to be done properly right now so that it lasts as long as possible. But if you just want something that, it looks good and then you're gonna paint and then 1-2 years sell it, then perhaps this process may not be something that you're looking for. But I think, in my understanding right now, this should be the right process moving forward for any restoration project that I have, right? So what's next with this car? We've just done the primer by Bufori. So it still needs some bit of body fillers because there's still some places that, the dents are quite deep. So we're going to send the car back to the previous place we did restoration. They're going to do the body filler. And then we're going to send it back over here. And then we're going to start spraying a new color on this car. Now, my thoughts on the color has been shifting from here to there, from British Racing Green to Oak Metallic Green to dark blue. It's been here and there, even red color. But I still haven't made up my mind. So what we're going to do is I'm going to have a little discussion with Jerry, and let's see what colors we can have on the car. I like something a bit more vintage and classic look. So let's see what comes out of it. Look at that Range Rover there. It's absolutely beautiful, that color. I'm not sure I'll be going to that color, but that kind of inspired me to have something, classy. Yeah. So the restoration work is taking longer than I think. The engine is now in the hands of Kelvin's Sifu. It's going to rebuild the whole engine with a 5-speed gearbox. Can't wait for this whole process to be done. All right. So if you want more updates about this project, stay tuned to this channel. And yeah, I hope you got value from this mistake that I did. Right. If you got value, please let me know in the comments, like, subscribe, and comment in below what you think. Right. Thanks for watching, guys, and have a good one. See you in another video. Ciao.
deciding what interior, what exterior, even what the Webasto roof is going to look like, because they can rebuild it. So, could it be green? Right? Not bad, right? Classic, but maybe you can try something a bit more aggressive, like something red, like a dark red color, or maybe just a, the bright red, maybe even the dark blue like this. Actually, this is really nice, huh? Royal blue, yeah, that could work with brass rims. Right? And then for the soft top, there's so many colors to choose from. Look at that, so many of them. Maybe I should go green with green exterior, or maybe red with red, I don't know, right? Or we could do this color as well, so it's a bit more like classic. I don't know. I'm gonna decide and then let you guys know in a few months.